Good morning. This is Send 7 World News in 7 minutes. I'm Stephen Devincenzi. Today is Friday, the 24th of July, 2026. Starting in Asia and Oceania today, the situation in the Middle East is out of control, according to United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. The United States and Iran continued attacks yesterday. Speaking at the United Nations Security Council yesterday, Guterres said that the crisis in the Middle East is getting wider because of a lack of dialogue.
When parties prioritize military solutions over negotiated settlements, civilians pay the heaviest toll. We see this on full display in the Middle East, with devastating consequences in the region and across the globe. The situation is getting out of control. It's teetering on the edge of the unimaginable. The region is being pulled into an ever-widening circle of confrontation. One crisis feeds another, one escalation triggers the next.
Kuwait said that it had intercepted Iranian drones yesterday. Oil prices reached $100 a barrel yesterday for the first time since May. The United States is investigating whether Russia may have helped Iran to target CIA facilities in Saudi Arabia and Iraq in March, according to Reuters, quoting anonymous US officials. In Iraq, a green belt is being grown around Basra, the third largest city in Iraq. A ring of grass, plants and trees is being planted surrounding Basra, aiming to help fight intense heat and improve air quality. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has promised to punish officials connected to the leak of medical exam papers, which caused 2 million students to have to retake their exams. Alleged corruption related to the leak was one of the motives of the ongoing cockroach protest movement. In New Zealand, many hotels are fully booked because of a solar eclipse, despite it not happening for another 2 years. On the 22nd of July 2028, the moon will pass in front of the sun, causing darkness of almost 3 minutes in the middle of the day. Africa. In Nigeria, a court has brought lawyers, suspects, and others to a secret drug laboratory that was discovered in May. 3 Mexicans were arrested, as well as 7 Nigerians, in what has been described as the biggest drugs bust in Nigerian history. The laboratory is said to have contained chemicals and equipment to make methamphetamines worth $363 million. Defense lawyer Benson Ndakara said that the visit to the laboratory showed that the case against the suspects was not legitimate because they were charged with possession of methamphetamines. However, the production line did not actually show any.
We didn't see methamphetamine. Process of production is different from the product itself. The defendants are charged for being in possession of methamphetamine. But what the society is showing us today is the process of production, not production itself, not the end product.
In Angola, 2 Russian men have been sentenced to prison after being found guilty of planning a coup last year. Lev Lakhtanov received 11 years in prison, and Igor Ratchin received 8 years, being convicted of terrorism and spying. Prosecutors also say that the men were linked to Russia's Wagner private military company, which has largely shifted its focus to Africa since the death of its leader Yevgeny Prigozhin in 2023. Americas. In Panama, a United States-funded laboratory is preparing to release genetically modified screwworm flies. Screwworm is a parasitic fly whose larvae eat flesh, typically of cows, sheep, and goats. Screwworm was eradicated in the United States in the 1960s. However, it has crossed over from Mexico this year during a large outbreak. Scientists are preparing to release sterile male screwworm flies so that when they mate with female screwworm flies, they are not able to reproduce. In Mexico, a mayor has been shot dead after surviving another assassination attempt earlier this year. Valentin Romero is the 14th Mexican mayor to be murdered since Claudia Sheinbaum became president less than 2 years ago. On Wednesday, journalist Francisco Levia became the 4th journalist to be murdered since June. Media freedom groups consider Mexico to be one of the most dangerous places to be a journalist. Europe. In Albania, anti-government protests continued yesterday, with police using water cannon to try to disperse protesters. Protests started in May against a luxury resort project backed by US President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. However, today protesters are demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Edi Rama and his government. Ukraine has continued its strikes on the Russian online retailer Wildberries, which is often described as Russia's Amazon. Ukraine says that Wildberries is supplying the Russian military. At least 5 Wildberries warehouses have been hit over the last week. Ukraine is also continuing to hit Russian ships in the Black Sea and Azov Sea and oil infrastructure in Russia. Protests against the removal of Ukrainian Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov have continued, despite the removal of military commander-in-chief Alexander Syrsky, which was also a protesters' demand. In France, 20,000 people have been forced to leave their homes because of a fire close to the sea in the southwest. In southern France, temperatures are reaching almost 40 degrees in some areas this week, with temperatures passing 40 degrees in Spain. And in Spain, goats, sheep, and cattle are being used to stop the spread of wildfires. Animals are being kept in areas prone to fires to eat dense, low-growing plants that are especially flammable. The government of Galicia in the northwest has offered benefits to farmers for keeping these animals. That's your world news in 7 minutes. If you are a Send 7 supporter, I've got some exciting news about a better supporters experience coming soon. I'm going to email you and make an extra episode about that. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.